Right. Wednesday, 27th of September, SIG Automation Meeting. So we'll discuss the Scrum. I will go to the Scrum items. So let me share my screen. Yeah, Bala, you were saying?
Yes, I think next week we'll start a new sprint. But what I want to say, the good thing is a lot of things are assigned in progress items, and the items in the to-do is obviously up for the grabs. So instead of going each item by item, I was gonna request one thing. If the item is done, let's move to the done column. That's one thing. And then is there any particular help anybody is looking for in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so maybe we should go maybe not item per item, but topic, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe let's go to the list, right? So it's the first one is sorry, Vish has your hand. Yeah, go ahead, Vish.
Okay, since you asked that question, I got myself and Ravi are working on the Git dependency issue. I would need some help there. If I have already spoken to messaged Vim yesterday, we probably will actually sync up next week to get some sort of update. So
yeah, my problem is this week is timing is a bit
yeah, next week is fine. I'm looking to the code.
We'll do it.
Using this opportunity
we
to
can
get
do it.
Yeah.
So
let's do it Monday morning. Monday ASAP. Then Vish, I'm fine there. Right.
Thank you.
So is web? Do you think is anybody help? Anyone else can help Vish since you're busy?
No, it can wait. Actually, it can wait till next week. But the thing is, like I said, I'm also using this opportunity to come up to speed on controllers, looking at the code and all that stuff. So, and it is not a blocking at this point of time that it needs to be done. So his contacts that he had, it can wait. So we have work to do. We can continue making progress.
Cool. That's fine. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Wim, let's go with the board, like you said.
So the first one is let's call it the round. I don't know is
Joseph here.
Yeah, Sagar is. And yeah, okay. Joseph.
Yeah, for the RAN part, the initial controller, I've committed some initial code in my private repository. So I was able to actually deploy it using FTO with fixed package information. For example, config refs, I would create it on my own. The config resources I would create on my own manually right now. So I'm not using any KRM functions right now. So with that, I was able to deploy it as a package and test it with the core installed in the same cluster for now. So that's the current status. So the next step for me is to see how to generate these config and config refs. And the second one is right now I've used the CRD that I had discussed earlier, but I think we need to move towards the common NF deploy CRD. So that common NF deploy CRD changes I will need to do. So these two things would be my next actions. So for the
the packages. Sorry, Joseph. Does it include the packages as well? The package creation.
The packages, I have it, but I'm not committed. I'm not sure where to put it. I can put it in my local. I have created the packages for 3 components of RAN, CUCP, CUUP, and DU. So these 3, I have created the packages. Like I said, all the configs are generated manually and kept, which can be readily. It's a deployable package. So I've not used KRM functions to do mutations yet. So that part I need to check because if
that is So I think Joseph, there is one issue that Sagar pointed out. I think he found, and I think there is a Slack. I saw there's some discussion on Slack. Because what Sagar did is I think he created a function, a stallart function to do it. But I think there is something that we didn't do in R1, so we need to do an enhancement, because I believe when the NF deploy function that we have today is running, it will, let's say, assume that there is no config ref in it. And as a result, it overrides it and makes it 0. Whereas we should just make, when the function starts up, basically take in what's there. And so I asked Akash to look at that. I don't know whether he responds. If he does not respond, I will look at this myself. But Akash did the NF deploy function, so it should be fairly straightforward for him to enhance the implementation. Because then so that means that within the NF deployment CRD in the package, we just put the config refs in it from the beginning, right? Because that's anyhow part of the blueprint package. And then we don't have to run any new functions and stuff like that. I have the feeling less code is better at the end of the day to maintain it and stuff like that, because what you see always, if you have different variation, you need to update it and stuff like that. So I would my proposal is to keep it simple. So, okay, Sagar, you have a comment?
Yeah, I already had a discussion with Akash, just after you messaged. So I already explained him, he understood, and we found out the problem there in the code base. And he will do it. He will ask you, but he will only do it for R2, right? But he will not do it for R1, because doing it for R1 it's messy. So for R1, I will do this not so really good starlock function, which I don't know how many people like. I will do that.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's a good workaround, or it's a good way to overcome the issue right now, right? Yeah.
So Sagar, why are we even doing it for R1?
Okay, why are we doing for R1? Because if you remember all these packages which I created those packages for R1, and I wanted to leave them tagged, but I still had some issues in R1 with these. That's the reason I am still, cleaning those things. And because the code which I prepared, let's say the operator, I can use in R2 once Vim once I think once they are done with the parameter ref and with the NF deployment. So it's really easy for me to change it, so I can have a compatibility between both of them.
So yeah, Bala, I think right now we are in this transition phase, right? So I think Ronak is probably on the next. So this is part of this item. I saw the PR today. So they have. So there is a PR that basically is the first step of the changes that we need for this config ref change. So in other words, Joseph is depending on it and Sagar is depending on it. So that's why I said in the NF parameter part, there is basically 3 things that we need to do. First one is to change the API, which is what the PR is about, right?
Yeah.
Second is to change the free 5GC operator to align with this. Yeah. Same ISO, and then the packages and stuff like that, right? So and then we also have to change the NF deploy function, which is similar to what we discussed before, right? So there is a chain of action that we need. So that's why the fact that this PR is there is great, right? Because it means that if we get this approved, then we unlock various other tasks that are depending upon it. So that's why I think this is great to see it. And I reviewed it myself, so I think this is fine for me. So I'm going to approve it. But it would be good also for other people to have a look at this ASAP, because this. Yeah.
Sorry, API related changes have been done and it is raised. Controllers like free 5GC is almost done. You will raise a PR by tomorrow or day after tomorrow for it. And the other thing, that KRM related stuff, we spoke to Akash and he will make it. He confirmed that he will do the KRM related changes. Yeah, so we had a word with Akash.
Yeah, actually,
do you know the PR number?
PR number.
Oh, sorry.
340. The ticket number is 340.
I know it's API, right? It's API.
PR number 51.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah. I'll copy it in in the board. Why is this not open? Yeah. Sorry, there was a few hands. So Sagar, yeah, you have your hands. Or Steven?
So this is for Saga. We don't really have any plans to do another release off of R1. So I would not advocate you do a backward porting of your thing into R1. We're not doing. I don't think we're adding on a release.
I think
for sure we're not doing a release for a new feature. That is certainly cut off a long time ago. So OAI I would consider a new feature. So I would say probably not.
But I think what Sagar did, Steven, from my perspective, Sagar, correct me if I'm wrong. He used what we did in R1, right? And he saw a few limitations, and he worked around those limitations, right? So that's basically what he did. So it's not to make a back. So there is no change in R1 with what he did. He just used R1, saw a few limitations.
So this is
and worked around
that's
them, right?
That's like experimentation for him, I guess, on the
Correct,
bench.
yeah.
But then given that if he has limited time, I would advocate that might as well just develop with Akash, just focusing more on R2 on the deliverables, right?
But they are a bit stuck.
I don't want to say no value. Obviously, we learned something out of that, but then it's not really that critical for an R2 perspective, because in R1 we don't see that support. It's nice for OAI to say we have a operator that works with R1, but I don't know when you would. It's really that much value other than experimentations. I don't know, but yeah.
I think we said R2 will not be compatible with R1. We are not going to provide the upgrade path, and R2 will not be API or binary compatible with R1. I think that's a statement we made, I guess.
That's for sure.
I think,
that's for sure. But then so obviously Saga's doing it for experimentation to learn more, which we're not stopping him from doing so. But then given that we are rushing through R2 and then R2 has a new thing, opinion is maybe prioritizing R2 if the things are if the pieces are available.
I agree. Our focus should be on R2, but I think he could make a lot of progress with his workarounds that otherwise he would be stuck, right? So I think that's how I look at it. So from him, it was really beneficial that he could do it. But okay, I agree that our focus should be on R2, not on backporting things in R1. Okay, Joseph?
So I think you mentioned also that Akash should be working on the KRM function for the NF deploy, right? So we don't need any NF specific KRM functions from now on.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the big advantage. So what you see is there is a bunch of code that we did. So we had SMF deploy, we had AMF deploy, we had UPF deploy. So here we would have done a RAM deploy and maybe one for the CU, one for the VU and stuff, so the DU. So this simplifies all of it. So that means that any new type of network function that in the future comes up, or even in R2 comes up, we don't have to build a specific function for it unless we need certain functionality.
Yes and no, right? So if you have a new type that goes into the config graphs, you still have to write something. So
right.
The controller, yes, but in specialization,
even specialization, right? So if you want to fill up the new structure, you still need something on there. So we simplify
unless
the
it's
type that we're watching, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, but unless it's transparent to us, right? So if you look what we are doing in R2, we are not writing, so we are enhancing the functions that we had, but a lot of the new parameters are, let's call it parameter refs now. So they used to be config refs, they are now parameter refs, which means that they are actually cut through for the specialization in a lot of cases at the moment. So as long as nothing specific is needed, there's no new work on specialization to support them. That's basically, I think, how I look at it. Of course, if that reference needs an IP or needs certain things to be specialized, then yes, we do need to write a function. But if it's really cut through, right, then the idea or the objective is not to do anything.
Yeah,
but of course,
example,
the last operator,
for example,
the operator
yeah.
has to of course support that, right? But so there is a whole chain.
No, but for example, the 3GPP parameters, we are, I guess someone's going to input that one time, and then for everything that needs it, it would be that you would have to attach it. So
yes,
and
that's yeah. In that case, probably we have to then see how we do that, Stephen. So, that would be a new thing, of course. Yes, yeah. Unless we say we put it in all the packages and they just got through all over the place. So, but that we have to, I think, based on
we still need to
work, we
maintain that reference. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
we will have to see what we need. Yeah, what we need in addition to support that potentially. But so that I think we don't know yet, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So just one comment. Sorry, Wim, one final comment before I go to the next. So yeah, Joseph, thank you so much for all this thing. One thing I would definitely advise is once the dependency of this enough parameters is done with, whatever shape, if you think it's in a logical shape to do a PR, please do a PR, even if it's not complete. Even if it's a small functionality, let's do a small PR so that it can be reviewed by the community and you can get the feedback. And then we'll have a early feedback cycle, and then community can also review it smaller PRs better. So I would definitely suggest that. Please keep that in the back of your mind too when you're working on this to do the early PRs.
Yeah,
Thank you
sure.
so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah.
So, Ronak, anything else? So I would welcome, so this PR, I think it would be good to have review ASAP, because this one is going to be the source of many dependencies. So if we resolve this one ASAP, then it would be good for people to review this ASAP.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So Steve?
Yeah, Vamshi, this side. One issue found from this PR, Vim. I think I have raised it in Slack. That needs to be sorted out. But I don't see any issue with respect to this PR and these changes. But something is disturbing. It looks. I think we are looking into that. If anybody sees any clue, possibly.
Which one?
I think today morning I have raised.
That make generate.
Yeah, make generate operation on this API code.
It does not work. Okay, I'll have a look at it. I'll try it. I'll take the PR and have a look at it. And then, yeah, of course, the CLA needs to be covered somehow. So that will be also important, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think your company.
He raised a ticket. I think he will get approval soon.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know whether you do, what is it, individual CLA or company CLA? But I think if it's company based, you have to be listed in that company list or something like that.
Yeah, we have raised that internally. I think today it will be approved.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And then so we'll review. And so the generate is still an issue. Okay, I'll have a look. I'll look at it today. But yeah, so other people, please, very welcome to review this PR. I think because there's a lot of. We have a lot of dependency of other actions on this one. All right. Then NF topology, Stephen?
Unfortunately, I didn't make that much progress this week. But then there is the idea of not directly linking it up with the ESA moving forward. So maybe I'll put the resolved topology in the status field, and then anyone interested will be reading from that status. So it doesn't have a direct link with ESA moving forward. So that's one of the change that probably will happen.
So what is ESA? Just wanted to.
It's the Edge status aggregator.
Just status aggregator. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Edge
So okay, got it. So Stephen, do you think it is still planned for
Sprint.
R2, this topology
Oh
controller?
yeah, that's for sure. The code is basically sort of working, even back in R1.
Okay.
It's more of a cutoff. So the one thing I obviously did not check is the ESA integrations, because when R1 left, he found a bug, and that bug still exists today on the ESA side, on basically the way I'm building up the NF deployed object, and then without that, actually, I'm no longer even waiting for anything to happen over there, so I can just get it going. It's more like internal stuff that get in my way last week. Yeah. Other than that, it should be in for R2 for sure.
Okay, cool.
This one, create design document. I did not do. I have the PowerPoint, so I'll refer to that. But I will create an MD file for this as well, right? That we
Yeah.
Yeah. Nephew SDK. Stephen, or who else is Sandeep?
Still me. Sorry. So
Okay. Yeah.
So this is. So we obviously have the weekly discussions on this on a different meeting. So Fiacra actually did the most work among all of us so far in terms of figuring out the Helm support, particularly the Helm onboarding. There are some concerns on Operator SDK. There are some concerns on Flux. So we still haven't converged on the way to actually onboard Helm charts. Outside of that, all the other tracks, I'm hoping there's some progress already made. Yesterday, we only went through one particular area on hopefully finalizing on the framework of what we're trying to do, and creating a wrapper of an operator SDK, not operator dash SDK, not the Red Hat one, but some wrapper of either CodeBuilder's operator SDK, and then build on top of that for our specific reconciler. It also sort of has relationship with the NF deployment. When it becomes a unified type, then it makes it a little easier for us to basically just create that reconciler from the get-go. So this is still going on. Hopefully we have much more clarity leading up to the summit for sure.
So Stephen, I think yesterday Joe from the operator framework mentioned that what is that Helm plugin? That is a fork off of the operator SDK Helm integration.
Yeah, there's some internal things that you folks are working on that are built, and some of them
do you think shall I get someone on the call for the next week for that one, for the SDK team from that team, so that do you think
certainly it'll be great to find out a little more of what is being added, or whether or not that actually address some of the concerns listed on the doc.
Okay, probably I will try to
maybe Bala, maybe it's good to share the doc with them, right? Because they don't, if we have them on the call, it would be good to have some context. So I think Tal and Steven, I don't know who else, they created a doc on all the different possibilities of Helm integration. So there is a document with 4 options or something, if I recall. And I think it would be good to share that with the people, just to give them some context, what we are trying to accomplish.
Sure, that's a good idea.
Can you share the link? Can you share the link, Steven, with Bala?
Yeah.
Or I'll dig it up somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's there in the channel. Yeah, I think somewhere I saw the
SDK channel.
Yeah, I think somewhere I saw that. Yeah.
Somewhere.
Or in Helm discussion or something like that. Here.
Yeah. Let me go look for it. I'll put it on Slack.
So
it's somewhere over there.
It is somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll have to find it. Okay. Yeah. Let's find it. Yeah.
So and I will try to get that internal contact, Stephen, and then let's arrange. Try to do a remote meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, I would like by the time our summit rolls along, we have some sort of direction. Would be great. Yeah. But then again, let's not use the summit as like a milestone and saying that we have to make a decision by then. But then it will be obviously we want to make progress.
Okay.
Thanks.
Just on that statement, I guess probably one quick one there. But in terms of probably should have mentioned this on the meeting yesterday was taken up by the lads being there. But which were great help. But in terms of the other options, like, is there, do we need somebody to have a look at the config sync ham support, you know, and or I'm currently looking at Argo CD, but for a different reason. Well, for a similar but different reason.
So the thing, Fiacra, so I think it's good to do so, but they all have the same challenges as I brought up with Flux, right? So basically what they most likely do is they have Helm support. So you can take a Helm package, put them in, but from my perspective, we need something that's even in the workload cluster that takes that in and does something before you actually can look at the Helm chart. And that's the problem with all of these approaches like Argo and Flux and config sync. They all have the same challenge, if I will, for us because of the pre-processing that we would need to do within the cluster.
Yeah, well, that's a given. Yeah, I think, but obviously, but outside it, like, I know what you're saying. That essentially they all just explode the Helm chart and push the KRM to the cluster. I get it, right? But so okay. Well, if I wasn't going to nominate myself for doing the work, but I was wondering, you know, Big Sync is a Google tool,
for a
and it's there.
For a moment, let's assume I'm not from Google. I mean, objectively, I would even think the config sync mechanism is probably less useful.
Okay, well,
because we use config sync to sync the resolve things down into the workload clusters. What we actually want to do is to take NF deployment plus vendor extensions, create some things, and then go to the Helm chart. So that kind of traps us for not able to move that way. So I mean, objectively, I would say this is probably not that great. Obviously, if you're interested, I'm not stopping you. But I'm very hopeful. This is something that we'll probably converge on. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So then this is also RAM. So I'm going to skip unless someone brings it up or as a comment. Because for me, this is part. It's part of the RAM, right? And experimental repo.
This is for I don't know whether you have Rado on the call. Rado was out for a week for personal reasons. Then he's back. So this is basically setting up the CLA, etc. in the experimental repo, because even for that we need to get the CLA, at least a few things there. We do not need the whole thing that we have in the main repo, but we need to have CLA and copyright, license protections, etc. So I think this is to set up in that repo. Rado said he's gonna take. There are quite a few items assigned here for Rado. He said he'll take a look at it this week.
Okay, perfect. Then this is also OAI. So I'm going to take all of this in OAI and RAM together, right? So experimental around CRD, that is, what is it, Joseph? Or so this one probably, given the discussion that we had before, like what Steven brought up, I don't know whether if we don't have topics for tomorrow, maybe this I would propose maybe this is a topic for tomorrow. Like, do we take the cut-through approach, or do we need something that takes the parameters of this RAM CRDs and make them available in other, let's say, elements, like, for example, like PLMN? Most likely, I believe this has to be shared between radio and core. So I think this might be good to discuss or have a bit of a discussion upon, because if we need to write functions and stuff like that to make that happen, the sooner we know, the better it would be, because we have to assign people or I see whether people are interested to do that work potentially. So that would be one, I think. I don't know, Joseph or Sagar, whether this whether it makes sense or not, or how you view that.
Yeah, I think for the starting, I think we're looking at using the parameter ref itself, right? Directly put the vendor as part of the vendor specific. I think the higher level CRDs might not be specific to RAN as well. Also for core and RAN together, might have to create CRDs at a higher level, probably at an input to the NF topology, right? Or at that layer.
Yeah, so what I propose here, I think we haven't really flushed this out completely, right? I think you have a proposal at the moment. What I would suggest is we take your proposal and discuss it maybe tomorrow. So we don't have to prepare much, just discuss what you have in mind. And then, like what Steven brought up, is do we need to have a function that takes the parameters and ensure that it's available in all the packages and stuff like that? If that's the case, we need to do something probably in specialization to accomplish that. And I think it would be good to discuss what we are doing in our tool and how we are going to handle that. And my personal view is the sooner we flush this out and agree amongst all the stakeholders, we can then decide how we approach that. Because I'm expecting there is some hidden work under this that we are not yet mastering, potentially. Does that make sense to other people as well? Or
and yeah, we can discuss that. I think
for one thing, it's possible that I have to, if we do that for 35GC also, I would need to set a conditions, a package condition on 35GC to make sure that the same parameters get propagated, and then the PLMNs and all the slides informations. So if we figure out how to do that and then figure out how to reference to the right one on a deployment, and then there's some functions that's smart enough to take it from the place, that would be great.
Yeah. And maybe this is also something that we could then continue discussion in the summit face-to-face as well, because I think this has some replication. Okay, Vish, you raised your hand.
Yeah. So are you guys going to be discussing about why for RAN you need to come up with some specific CRDs, what the problem statements are, for which we need to go off and create some RAN specific CRDs? Is that the point of discussion tomorrow? Or has it already been discussed?
We can
go and review.
It's discussed a little bit, but maybe not explicitly. So, but I think it would be good just to take that as input. To have that discussion as well. I don't believe it will take a lot of time, but or at least that's my perspective. But I think it's good if people don't fully grasp it. We should clarify, right?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Sagar?
Yes, sorry. So what I was just saying, so for this, so when you would say about extending for only for 3GPP parameters, or if there's some other vendor specific configuration allowed also, like, for example, the image or some other, let's say, logging level, things like that,
See, okay, so for me, the discussion, Sagar, is more of this, right? So we have a way to reference, let's say, a vendor specific or a specific CRD, let's call it, right? Whether it's vendor specific or 3GPP parameters, right? There are different kinds. I see two flavors of this, right? One flavor is it's only relevant for that network function instance and nobody else cares about it, right? In that case, we don't need to discuss because that's what we have, I think, right? Or that what we are working upon. There is a second approach, and that's why I call out specifically the 3GPP parameter scenario is these parameters. Let's take a PLMN ID, for example, or a tracking area, right? They are needed in certain core elements as well as in certain RAN elements. So it would be good to have a framework that allows the package to be mutated based on that information. So I see two categories of these parameter refs. One is per device instance, in which case it's what I call a full cut through without any processing and specialization, only needed to be processed at the lowest level at the workload cluster operator. And then there is another category, which is basically, it's a parameter that needs to be replicated to various elements. And that's a different approach. And I believe we have to, my idea was to discuss that second scenario with amongst the people on how we would handle that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, got it.
So Wim, very maybe a very naive question from my side. So in the context of new NF topology, which is going to override the individual topologies that we are talking about, that we had and were going to design for RAM. So in the context of that, this particular individual CRDs, what is the relationship?
For example, it's also defines potentially how those CRD structures we are putting in place. Maybe I don't. I'm just thinking out loud, right? So, like we could split them up into pieces as well, right? So we could say this is PLMN CRD, this is a tracking area CRD. So you have specific elements or instances of things that you are then managing. And as such, for example, if I take the topology controller from Steven, it's focused on the core right now. But I mean, if you take that and you say, this, I need a core and here is a topology and it needs the PLMN ID, then he will create the packages with all of these specific parameters and just replicate them across. So that could be one approach, right? Or we have somewhere a CRD that is in the cluster, and in specialization, we look up the thing and then we replicate it amongst the things that amongst the packages that we need. So these are all type of mechanisms that we have to discuss to accomplish that, right? So one is the design of the APIs of the CRD somehow, and then how we are consuming them and who is doing what based on that.
Okay, got it.
That's actually a good point made by Bala. So obviously PLMN and things may actually be inputted directly by a subtopology. You'll be using this or using this slides for sure. The SD and SST for sure probably is very specific to a particular subtopology. And how do we translate from that with the fact that right now topology controller only uses PVS? how will you propagate that over to the rest of the pipeline? Actually, that's a very interesting point. Yeah, we haven't actually thought it through really, but good point though. Thank you.
Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah, a couple of questions. So one is on the RAN CRD. So I think I might have made this point earlier. In terms of use case stories, like probably is also referred to what Vish was saying. Do we have the use case story defined, captured in the architecture document somewhere? Say, okay, the CRD could be kind of.
Not to the extent that I explained just a minute, I don't think we have, right? But what we have discussed, or what use case is in there, is that we have a way to propagate these parameters somehow, but we haven't explicitly said we only need it from one place and it needs to be replicated. So none of that has really been, that's more implementation. But there is an item in the architecture document, I think it's part of the use case, where we say vendor agnostic and user-defined parameters. So that is part of the user stories that is captured in R1. But there is no mention, like what I said is, I take one PLMN and I need to have it on all of these things. That I don't think is explicitly mentioned. But there is an item to say I have parameters that needs to be, that needs input from the, let's say, the northbound, for the lack of a better word, that is then input, because today in R1 we have a lot of these parameters that are hard coded, right? So that is captured in the architecture thing, but how and the whole framework around it to do so, that's I see that more as a SIG2 point anyhow, right? And of course, we will have to put that feedback to the architecture team on how we accomplished that and stuff like that, or what did we do to accomplish that.
Okay.
I
was just saying from a high level, because last R1, I remember we had all these use case stories for multi-cluster deployments, say UPF here, SMF here, or one SMF controlling multiple UPFs. So I'm just thinking, do we have similar one where we say, okay, we are this is kind of mimicking a use case for a small cell deployment, and we have multiple kind of edges where you have CU, CP, UP, and something. I was thinking more from the topological
Sagar has presented that, Ravi. I think Sagar has a diagram for that.
No, I saw Sagar. I was talking about, do we have it in the architecture document to say that R2 has these set of use cases that we are trying to address in automation?
Yeah, no, it's basically just a line item on the
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, SIG is having a meeting right now, so hopefully they're talking about this. But then yeah, we haven't gotten anything.
Okay, no, I was just trying to clarify that. The other question I had was regarding the earlier discussion, what you had basically on config refs, right? Because the last time there was this dependency where you had the SMF needed to know, the UPF configuration, and I thought that config ref
that's
was
for free 5GC, yeah, that's for free 5GC.
Yeah, for free 5GC, but that configuration, I mean, because it's SMF specific, was it kind of inserted using the kept pipeline? Was it a controller that was inserting it? I was a bit confused with the discussion.
But it's done in specialization. Yeah, in specialization, there is. So what we did is there is in the package, there is a so we created a dependency, let's say requirement, and that the specialization, it's part of the controller that takes that information and is then fetching it from the other packages and injecting it inside of the package for the instance. So that's how we implemented it for R1. And that stays, right? So that is something that we continue to support even in R2.
Okay, but so when it's a controller, it is a controller. It's not part of the kept function itself, right? I mean,
yeah, so it's the way we have it, so it's actually the implementation is like we did the IPAM and the VLAN, so it's part of that.
Okay,
it's part of the controller
it's not
function.
Very clear. Okay, yes. Got it. Okay, and now with basically the design is that we don't make we remove. I mean, who is handling this kind of dependencies, or do we say that we don't? Free 5GC is not.
So that's actually a good point. That was one of the things when I proposed that we have to figure out how to support 2 vendors, is that the free 5GC stuff is actually terrible and it's probably just free 5GC specific. And then whether or not we'll be able to not do this kind of wait until all UPF being resolved before you deploy an SMF requirement is probably not relevant, I'm guessing, for OAI. So that's an interesting point. So we have to somehow propagate this is like a vendor specific needs and only do it for free 5GC. And you can also make an argument that
we can do that. So we can do. So Stephen, we can do that because in the package of free 5GC, so whatever for me, it's what we did in R1. It's a generic capability. The way you basically specify that you need it is part of our blueprint package, right? If the blueprint package says I need it, someone will act upon it, right? So that means that you can use it for whatever implementation that you have it, whether free 5GC. If you don't need it, you don't specify it. If you need it, you specify it, and the thing will figure it out. That's what we did.
So at the very least, the OAI package needs to not have that, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
So we can make.
So that's basically the way to control it right now. Yeah. That's the way to control it at this stage, and that's why it's vendor. It's the implementation that we have right now is agnostic to the vendor, if you will, and the package is determining whether you need it or not.
No, that's the reason why we put it on config graph, because it's a vendor extension. Yeah. Does that answer
Ravi,
your question?
anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, I think for OA also, I think we would use the dependency deployment for the AMF IP address, and similarly for all the components within OAI, right? For example, the CU, the DU would need the CU CP's information and.
I thought Sagar said UPF actually registered with NRF in OAI.
Yeah, I mean the UPF part. I'm talking about the RAN.
Okay.
Right, Sagar?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so the dependencies would
And so
be there for the
yeah.
Th
So the
there is
nice
a
thing,
address, right?
with what we, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
please go
Sagar.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is that the implementation that we have in R1, as far as I can remember, is that it's agnostic to the vendor. So we have, okay, we are not going to probably test the full thing, but we have the scenario where we could have in R2 a core from OAI and a core from 35GC, right? And then a radio from OAI, right? So in other words, I believe the implementation is such that if the radio needs it and the core is implemented either by 35GC or is implemented by OAI, it would work either way. Because what happens is you specify the package that's from which you get it, and based on that, you're going to get the information. So I think it's even built in a way that it's vendor agnostic. The reference can be vendor agnostic. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, there's a bit of noise here at the moment. Let's continue. So where were we? Okay, OAI, that's the topology we discussed. Kitea, which we discussed, right?
Yeah.
Implement intercluster networking. Maybe this is also some topic that we can discuss. It's also on the agenda of the workshop. What I am doing right now here is implementing easier. So there is quite some, let's say, dependency to make it intercluster. And I am trying to simplify installing these dependencies. So that's what I'm working on right now. The system works, but I'm making it easier to consume, if you will. Okay. Then break the one-to-one repo cluster, Liam. I don't know.
Sorry, yeah, look, I was caught in a lot of internal work this week, but I have a bit of, I didn't get so much progress, but I have some bandwidth now for the next 2 days to have a look at this. So I'll hopefully have something by next week. Some sort of at least initial ideas about what to do here.
Right.
Thanks,
Okay.
Liam. Yeah.
And then we have OAI, NF topology, Helm, we discussed. Bring your own cluster, GCP, so that's John, who's not here. And then we have Rado.
Yeah, I think those are all the release things. I think Rado will take care of it.
Yeah.
Again, that is OA core deployment, and that is again, Sagar has most of it.
Right. And then we have OAI, network configuration. I think we have most of it, right? SDK,
Yeah.
Helm, Flux. I think we have most of it, right? Yeah, so the Nephew packages, did John propose? Did you see anything for the directory structure, Bala?
No, actually,
I think we agreed to do a single repo.
Yeah, I think that's the way we are going now. I think we'll do a single repo now for the packages.
Yes. But did we agree on a directory structure within it?
No, that was, we were supposed to discuss that. Yeah.
Yes, I don't think we saw that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait till John. Maybe we'll ping John about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that's it. So what I propose for tomorrow is, I think, 2 topics. I think we did not really do this, but I think Tal will probably be there tomorrow, right? So where we discuss the content.
I think he's probably in the SIG 1 meeting today. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, but I think it's good to have him. So tomorrow I propose to discuss, maybe let's start with this, right? And then second, we discuss the RAN, CRD, and or call it 3GPP parameter propagation, I call it for now, right? Right. And is it okay? Joseph, I tag you right now, but I think the only thing what we are expecting is just to come up with what you have done so far and show that CRD, and then we discuss the framework. Is that okay?
Yeah, so whatever is required for OAI, what we had prepared, so we can just start with that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything? Is anything else for now?
So you also wanted to discuss the intercluster networking too for tomorrow. So you want to add that to the agenda?
Yeah. It's probably too much, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's keep it so that we can at least move it to the next weeks. So let's not do it.
Yeah.
So I had one question for Sagar when you're doing that. Sagar, hey buddy, how we are the CLA stuff in the OAI? You wanted to make some changes. How is it going?
Yeah, I haven't updated Bala. I have the CLA is up on our website. That is done. The legal part is done. I just have to change the license in the repository. I'll change it for all the branches, even for main and everything. I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
So that is fine.
There's one more topic that I wanted to bring up, which is actually important, I think. So we had a lot of issues that people who tried the latest installation that failed because of this CNI with Multus, right? So I almost forgot about it. I just wanted to understand, Sagar and Fiacra, you guys have worked on it. Are we with the updated package that Fiacra did? Is it working now, or are we still in a flaky situation? So just to give a bit of context to everyone, what has happened is, or I give you my sense of what I understand, Sagar and Fiacra, is one is, it seems that the image, so the Multus package that we use as a reference to an image which has a label or a tag, and I have the impression that the tag is, so the image that's behind the tag is changing. And as a result, due to the changes that the new image has, it causes issues when you deploy it. So there's a bunch of people that have run into that problem. I think so Fiacra, you built a new package, Multus package that does some changes.
Yeah, I can post. Well, it's in the Slack. I can post a link in a second to the PR. But I just took the latest YAML directly from Multus as the original package. But I think there is still something missing. It was missing some cluster roles, which I was seeing in the logs related to listing
Watch
and
and
watching
list.
the pod. I think it's still I think the cluster role is still missing watch, but it has list. So it seems, but I've deployed it a couple of times now, 3 maybe, and it seems to come up okay. Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to get to is which is a bit of a bummer for us, because it means that everybody who tries at some point, at least tries, is going to fail somehow. So we have this. There is 2 ways around it. Is because it seems that image that we are using, the tag name of the image is moved around to new images, which is really bad. I have the feeling. So that means that anyone who is trying this thing is going to result or have these issues. So we have to find ASAP a way to get or to resolve this, I think. Otherwise, we leave a bad impression.
If I just add on that, so Wim, the PR which Fiacra made, it's perfect. I also tried exactly the same thing. But one thing I would suggest, like starting now, since the Multus project does it like this, that we copied exactly from Multus this thick daemon set, rather than we just copied from there, and they also always retag the same thing, and they also change the YAML sometimes in every release, in every 4 or 5 months, let's say. So probably we can use the tagged image, let's say release 4 or something, and then we use the same YAML all the time. So I think that will never break.
Or
on
another one.
Right?
On the other hand, we can copy the binary, the Docker image of what worked for us, put it into Netfield hub, and then use that one instead.
Then you own it.
Or take the hash of the image rather than the tag name, right? If they move the tag around, it's really bad, right?
Yeah.
Then you pin it to the image that we have, right?
I think Victor has some stuff to check out.
Yeah.
Victor.
So from my understanding, it's like the Motus image, the Motus CNS image is keeping remain the same. Like what has been changed from the latest release versus the latest version is mostly the CRD definition. They just included like the list permission, which is complaint. So what I was surprised is like we haven't used this particular package for a while. Basically, we haven't done any latest change who can impact that one. So probably it has been a bug which has been there for a while and we haven't detected. So
okay, because I was not sure. Okay, if the image is the same, but what was for me strange is that the image that Saga, when I look to the inspect of the image, I would have expected that he would use the same image as me because we are referring to an image with a tag name. So why had Saga a different one than myself?
So what
you see, so there is something. It's a really flaky. I don't understand fully because I just looked at the symptoms. I didn't really dig into the full root cause, but I had the impression that the tag name of the image is changing as well. Because otherwise, why would we see? I don't see any of the issues in my cluster that the guys see. So that means I have the impression that the image that we are using somehow got changed. But we are. If I look to the package itself, we refer to a tag name, and of course, if the label of the name is moved to a new image, of course, then it changes. But I'm not sure whether this is the full root cause. But
yeah, I think I think we should discuss it tomorrow.
Yeah, we maybe discuss tomorrow. But I think this is important for us to how we deal with this because it seems that a lot of people have run into this problem recently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I'll add
Thank
that
you.
as well. Yeah.
See you tomorrow then.
Yeah. Cheers.
See you. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.